Greetings, fellow recording nerds! You guys have heard me say this dozens of times, but I've been recording bands for over 2 decades, and I've been doing this show for a little under 10 years now. And for the vast majority of that time, I've been a PC guy. Now, a couple of years ago, I switched over to the Mac OS here at Spectre, and it's given me quite a new perspective on what it's like working on both systems. So now that you have that little bit of information in mind, here's 11 reasons why recording on a PC is better than recording on a Mac. Number 1, the prices. It's no secret that Apple stuff can be just a little bit on the overpriced side. You guys think $1,000 stand is bad? Apple sells fucking wheels for the Mac Pro for $700 for fucking wheels. Seriously, go take a look at the Apple shop. I don't know if I should laugh or scream when I see this shit. At least I'm gonna laugh at the people who are dumb enough to pay for that. It's the same thing with their computers. They're tiny 13-inch screen MacBook Pro is $1,300. And the 14-inch is $2,000. And the 16-inch is a whopping $2,500. Sure, they've got some decent specs, but come on, that shit is beyond overpriced. You can buy a Windows laptop with comparable specs for far less money, or better yet, build a custom PC that would destroy any of Apple's desktop offerings. Hell, if you really think you have to spend a lot of money, grab a slick audio production laptop instead. They sell one with a 16-inch screen and comparable specs for like $1,000 less. And if you want an ultimate beast of a laptop, you get one of these with the 4K OLED as well. This is awesome. Apple are a lot like Gibson in this regard. You're paying a premium for the brand name, not the quality of the performance of the product. Number 2. Apple is a lifestyle brand now. Okay, do me a favor. Next time you visit your local Starbucks, take a look around. I bet you're gonna see some guy with thick rimmed glasses, a beanie, and an unkempt beard sitting at a table staring like a dolt into a laptop screen. And chances are, it's a MacBook. Apparently, Mr. College Dropout turned blogger needs a $2,000 laptop to write his latest BuzzFeed article. Make no mistake, he has to do it in public. It's basically saying, oh, look at me, I'm typing into a Mac because what I'm doing is important. I just don't fucking understand the ego of the coffee shop hipster. It's like, can't you just make coffee at home and right there? Because the rest of us who are grabbing coffee on the way to more important things are not impressed. Look, there's no denying Apple makes some great products. Macs, iPhones, they're all great things that function really well. But there's something to be said when the masses buy your products not because of their technical abilities, but because you're considered a luxury brand. And really, who wants to be associated with a crowd of snobs who are so desperate to raise their social status they have to resort to blind consumerism? And if you're in the recording business, chances are you've heard this idea that you need an Apple computer to do any kind of audio work. This, of course, is complete and utter bullshit. The problem I have with all this is that Apple are no longer just a tech company. They're trying to sell you a lifestyle, an image. And I'm gonna burst your collective bubbles here. Your clients really don't care what device or operating software you're recording and mixing their project on. And if they do, they've probably been duped by the very same people who are oh so desperately trying to convince you you need one too. A Lenovo or a Dell laptop might not look as trendy or as hip, but they'll sure as shit get the job done. And when these douchebags eventually have to sell their MacBooks to afford their absurdly high rent, you'll be sleeping soundly knowing that you made a smarter investment. Number 3, Mac stability isn't all it's cut out to be. A point that Mac users love to go on and on about is the stability of their preferred operating system. Don't let them fool you. For the most part, they're just blowing smoke up their own asses. Let me explain. Mac OS is designed and optimized for Apple products. They're made to be compatible. Windows is used on all sorts of different laptops and computers, all of which use a variety of different components. For a Mac, it's mostly a case of fewer things to go wrong, but that doesn't really mean that things won't go wrong. There are countless reports that an update to macOS has rendered some of their computers buggy, slow, and in some cases, completely unusable. How many studios out there had their plugins suddenly stop working when Catalina came out? Sure, PCs crash too, but this supposed instability has become more and more rare because technology keeps advancing and all computers are getting better and better. Look, machines are always going to crash, be they Macs or PCs. Sometimes these things go haywire and decide to take an arbitrary nap, sometimes even during the most crucial point in a recording session. But don't be fooled. In this day and age, both systems are honestly pretty good, and experiencing stability issues is something you're not going to see a whole lot on either of them. Number 4, customizability. Like I said at the start of the video, I've been a PC guy for a long time, and over the years I've built several custom PCs for different applications. It's really not that complicated, but it is something you don't get with Macs. With a Mac, you're stuck with the specs that your corporate overlords assigned to their machines. Want more processing power? More RAM? Want to replace your graphics cards? Then fuck you! Well, unless you're an IT grad who's also savvy with a soldering iron, chances are you're not going to be able to do this yourself. In fact, Apple are building their computers and laptops with no user serviceable parts anymore. So if you try to replace any of them, guess what? Your warranty is void. Now that is some serious grade A fucking bullshit. On the other hand, if you do a bit of research and you're not too clumsy, you can put together a beast of a PC that will absolutely destroy a Mac at like half the price. Not only that, but the options you have for components are almost endless. For example, you really don't need a top-tier graphics card for audio production, but you can be smart about your build and save more money for the processor and RAM. That and good luck finding a high-end video card that hasn't been snatched up by the crypto miners. Ultimately, having the option and your own choice of what goes into your machine is far more valuable than having a fancy prepackaged box that's more or less doomed to fail when the programmed obsolescence kicks in. Number 5, upgradability. This ties in with the last point. When your Mac eventually kicks the bucket, you are at the mercy of Apple to service and fix your machine. The machine that you need to get your work done on. And even then, you're gonna probably be stuck with a pretty hefty repair bill. Unless, of course, you opted in for Apple Care. In that case, hang on to your wallet! And don't just think this is incompetence on the part of Apple. This shit is intentional. It's meant to incentivize you to buy a new machine that you're used to working with, and you can bet they're laughing all the way to the bank with your money when you do. Meanwhile, if something fails on your PC, all you really have to do is replace the broken part. Dead processor? No problem. Go buy a new one. It's not that hard to install, and you'll be back in business in no time. That kind of convenience alone is worth its weight in gold. Try to keep this in mind. Your time is valuable, and the time Mac guys are gonna waste waiting for their shiny toy to come back, the PC guys are gonna be hard at work trying to clean up a drunk bass player's out of time playing. Number 6, Apple abandoned their hardware. A lot. You guys remember FireWire, right? It's that weirdly shaped port you can find on older interfaces like the RME Fireface 800. That system was developed in the late 80s or early 90s, and we don't see that on many devices anymore because Apple are notorious for creating a system, pushing it as the standard, and then abandoning it. They did it with FireWire, they're gonna do it with USB-C, and now they don't even put headphone jacks on their phones anymore. Yeah, thanks a lot, fuckers. Why do they do this? So they can keep selling you more of their own shit. They're making their own products obsolete at such a fast pace just to get you to spend more money on new laptops, new phones, and adapters. The crom-damn motherfucking adapters! Given Apple's track record, the longevity of their systems can leave the user with a bit of uncertainty. On the other hand, a PC's motherboard will more than likely be loaded with plenty of USB ports, and unlike FireWire, USB isn't in danger of being phased out. Oh, and they still give you a headphone jack. Number 7, the sound is the same. Yes, you heard me right. Now, this is something that was kept under tight wraps by the lizard people that control the world, but it turns out that audio recorded on a Mac doesn't sound better than audio recorded on a PC! Well, now that that cat's out of the bag, I gotta finish this video before they come for me. Seriously though, there are people out there who genuinely believe that you can't use a PC for audio production because the sound is inferior? I swear, you can't make this shit up. Just head over to Reddit or Gearsluts, or now known as Gearspace because we don't want to offend anybody, and watch how those morons drool all over themselves and their precious equipment. Seriously, the mental gymnastics you find on those forums is fucking unbelievable. Please, for the love of Crom, don't listen to these mindless zealots. They're nothing but sad little shits, and they're in the game of justifying their purchases to themselves. And they are very upset that people who don't use the same things that they do are able to get the same and possibly even better results. It's basically a very sad coping mechanism. Don't let yourselves be duped into believing myths like this. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Does it sound good? Yes? Then fucking use it! Number 8, Hackintosh. Now, there might be a bit of a legal issue with this one, so please tread carefully because you didn't hear this from me. If you happen to be one of those few net jobs who actually prefer the Mac OS, but you don't want to pay for the privilege of having a fruit logo on your machine, you can build yourself a Hackintosh system. When I was down in LA, the guys at the studio I was working at were running the Apple OS, and to tell you the truth, it ran pretty damn smoothly. One thing Apple actually has going for it over PC is compatibility and drivers. Want your shit to work? Just plug it in and go. And this is coming from a guy who was based on PC for pretty much his entire career. I got used to working with it, and eventually my buddy Alex from the band Witherfall helped me put together a Hackintosh. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hackintosh is basically Mac OS on a non-Apple hardware, which according to them violates the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. I don't fucking know. Keep in mind that the chances of Apple actually coming after you in your basement studio are very low, but still, people and companies have been sued over this, and it tends to leave a bad taste in everyone's mouths. Now, we can spend endless amounts of time discussing the ethics surrounding this, but that's also time we could be spending recording and getting real work done. Number 9. More options for free plugins. Do you like plugins? Do you like free plugins? If so, then the PC is definitely right for you. There's a ton of great free plugins out there, ones that you can finish entire mixes with. And sadly, a lot of them aren't supported by Mac. Why? Well, first off, the guys who develop free plugins are mostly PC-based themselves, and they know their market. See, the people who can't afford to drop thousands of dollars on a plugin library probably also don't have the means to spend thousands on a Mac. It just makes sense. Another thing worth mentioning is that you can pretty much develop a plugin on a PC for not a lot of money, or even for free if you don't value your time a whole lot. Mac's development ecosystem costs money, and getting things officially signed can be a gigantic pain in the ass. You basically need a Mac to develop plugins that are going to work with a Mac. That leaves the compatible plugin well a little bit dry. You can get some amazing work done with free plugins. I did a video back in 2019 on my top 10 free plugins for Metal, and they all work on a PC. And the Mac guys were pissed because many of my suggestions simply aren't available for a Mac. Sorry guys! On the bright side, you're still gonna look way cooler than me typing away on your MacBook at Starbucks. Number 10, it's 2021, not 1991. Ah, the 90s, the era of Backstreet Boys and Vanilla Ice. The era where the rock star died and grunge was the closest thing we had to rock and metal. No, I don't miss it one fucking bit. But something happened in the 90s that, for better or for worse, revolutionized the world of music production. The creation of digital audio workstations. Pro Tools just came out, and truth be told, if you wanted to run a digital system back then, a Mac was probably gonna be your best option. PCs back then weren't exactly up to snuff, so Macs really were, and I hate to utter these words, the industry standard. That is, unless you use SAW Studio like I did, and that was hand-coded in assembler. And damn was it ever fast. But here we are today. Technology advances, and in the last decade, PCs have made leaps and bounds in performance and technical ability. So we have to ask ourselves, is the Mac still really the industry standard? And in this recording engineer's opinion, that's a resounding fuck no! Whatever your preferences are, it really doesn't matter. Tech is progressing at such a rapid rate that at this point, most computers are going to be more than suitable for the job, regardless of the logo on it. And that brings me to my final point. Number 11, you already have a PC. If you're watching this video, chances are you're watching it at home on your PC. Back when I was a kid, a computer wasn't something that just anybody had. Nowadays, pretty much every household has a computer of sorts, and guess what? The vast majority of those are Windows-based. And it's more than likely that you can record on them. Recording is not a very processor-hungry task by itself. It's the amount of tracks you're going to end up with and the plugins you're going to use to process them that are going to be the biggest resource hogs. Well, let's be honest here. Most, if not all you guys, play video games. and those are infinitely more taxing on your computer than recording or mixing. If your PC can handle Call of Duty, it can handle a fucking amp sim. If you're only working on your own material and your current device isn't as old as I am, you can fucking record on it. If the idea of doing audio work has ever crossed your mind, chances are some fuckhead out there has probably fed you some bullshit about, oh, you need a Mac, PCs aren't good for that. Keep in mind that these are the same people who lock themselves in their closets so they can better experience the smell of their own farts. Nothing says my system is better than your system like appreciating your own flatulence. Don't let some pretentious asshole deter you from trying something new and making something amazing. Use what you have, learn to use it well, and you'll see results. Chances are your recordings won't be good when you start out. You're inexperienced, you won't know how to do things properly, maybe you even think cupping the mic is a good idea. But what's not going to make your recordings bad is them being made on a PC. All right, everybody, that's it for this video. Just want to give a great big shout out to all my patrons for making this one possible. And to all the Mac guys out there, I'm sorry for the butthurt that this may have caused you. Might I suggest that you go see a doctor about it? That is, if you can still afford to see one after you bought the Mac. And the time Mac guys are gonna waste waiting for their shoiny? Fuck is shoiny? Oh, it's fucking shoiny. What? It's fucking shoiny. Excuse me. I always get the burps when I'm doing these fucking things.